Can you imagine what would leave experienced Yosemite rangers in a state of shock? In 2019, a group of 5 adventurous explorers decided to do exactly what thousands of visitors only dare to dream of: completely ignore the red "no entry" signs and enter one of the most dangerous and mysterious caves in all of the United States. What they didn't imagine was that only one of them would return home, carrying a story so disturbing that it would forever change how we view the hidden dangers of national parks. Have you ever wondered why certain areas of parks as visited as Yosemite remain completely off-limits to the public? We're not talking about a simple bureaucratic issue or common environmental preservation. This particular cave, located deep within the rocky Sierra Nevada, carries a sinister reputation dating back more than a century, accumulating reports of unexplained disappearances that defy any conventional logic. The story you're about to discover may surprise you because it goes far beyond the superficial explanations we usually find about accidents on trails or amateur explorations. We're dealing with a disturbing pattern that has been repeating itself for decades. Experienced, well-equipped people, aware of the risks, who simply vanish without leaving any concrete trace. And when someone manages to survive to tell what really happens inside, their accounts are so disconcerting that even professionals with years of rescue experience are left speechless. The 2019 survivor, whom we will call Marcus to protect his identity, spent 48 hours lost inside this forbidden cave. When he was finally found by rescue teams, he was severely dehydrated, suffering from advanced hypothermia, and had injuries that doctors struggled to explain. But what was most unsettling was not his physical condition, but the psychological account he provided to the authorities. Stay with me until the end, because what Marcus revealed about the interior of this cave challenges everything we thought we knew about the natural dangers of American national parks. His expedition companions, all experienced mountaineers with years of caving practice, simply disappeared under circumstances that even the most detailed investigations could not fully clarify. Have you ever experienced that morbid curiosity when you come across a "no entering" sign? That's exactly what has led dozens of adventurers to defy the restrictions of this cave over the years. But there's a fundamental difference between ignoring a common "keep off the grass" sign and entering a place that has accumulated more than 50 documented cases of people who entered and were never seen again. What makes this case even more intriguing is that we're talking about Yosemite, one of the most monitored and well-documented national parks in the entire American system. This isn't some remote, lost place in the middle of nowhere where disappearances could go unnoticed. On the contrary, it's an area under constant surveillance by rangers, equipped with modern security systems and rigorous emergency protocols. So, what exactly happens inside this cave that can cause even experienced and well-prepared people to simply vanish? And more importantly, why do the authorities maintain almost complete silence about the specific details of the documented cases? Marcus's account of those 48 lost hours reveals aspects of this cave that go far beyond the traditional geological dangers we would expect to find. His description of the events he witnessed inside has forced even veteran investigators to reconsider their theories about what truly makes this place so lethal to anyone who dares to challenge it. Now that you know the magnitude of the mystery surrounding this forbidden cave in Yosemite, prepare to delve into the deeper layers of this story. But before we continue unraveling what really happened to Marcus and his companions on that fateful expedition, I need to share something important with you. You know, when I started researching cases like this, I realized there's an incredible community of people fascinated by these unexplained mysteries of American national parks. And it's precisely this connection that makes it possible to bring you such complex and well-researched stories as the one you're reading now. If this topic resonates with you, if you also feel this unsettling curiosity about what lurks in the darkest corners of nature, leave a comment below about what has resonated with you so far. Have you ever had a strange experience on trails or during explorations? Or perhaps you know someone who has experienced something inexplicable in national parks? Your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of in-depth and well-researched content. And look, if you're feeling the tension of this story the same way I did when I discovered the details of Marcus's case. Click that like button below. That shows me I'm on the right track, bringing you the kind of investigation that really grabs your attention and makes you question the official truths about these seemingly safe places. Oh, and if you want to continue diving with me into this fascinating and disturbing world of disappearances in American parks, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because I can guarantee that what you'll discover about Yosemite Cave is just the tip of the iceberg. I've been investigating even more intriguing cases that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the safety of these places. Your presence here, your comments, and your engagement are literally the fuel that allows me to dedicate weeks to researching every detail, talking to experts, and mining for information that authorities often prefer to keep secret. It is this community that we have built together that makes it possible to shed light on stories like that of Marcus and his missing companions. Now, returning to our central mystery, to fully understand what happened on that 2019 expedition, we first need to know the dark history that this cave has carried for over a century. The cave in question is located in the southeastern region of Yosemite, in an area known as Tenaya Canyon, approximately 8 kilometers from the famous Half Dome. It is a rock formation hidden among the granite walls of the Sierra Nevada, practically invisible to the thousands of tourists who pass through the main trails every day. This invisibility is intentional. Park authorities made sure to keep it off the official routes, and there is a very specific reason for this. What makes this situation even more intriguing is that we're talking about a complete transformation in the authorities' approach over the years. In the park's earliest records, dating back to the late 1800s, this cave appeared on some geological maps as a point of interest for researchers. But something drastically changed this official mindset, and this change reveals a lot about the real impact of the events that took place inside. The decision to make the area completely off-limits was not taken lightly. According to internal National Park Service documents that I was able to access through Freedom of Information requests, the total restriction was implemented in 1987, following a series of emergency decisions that involved not only local rangers, but also federal-level public safety experts. This means we are dealing with something that has transcended the normal jurisdiction of a national park. The behind-the-scenes story of this decision reveals a disturbing pattern of events that authorities preferred to keep in absolute secrecy. Between 1952 and 1987, 43 cases were officially documented of people who entered this cave and were never found again. But here is the hidden truth that changed everything. These 43 cases represent only the disappearances that were formally reported to the authorities. Independent investigations suggest that the real number may be 3 times higher. What truly transformed the official perspective was the 1986 incident, exactly 1 year before the definitive ban. A team of professional speleologists from the University of California, equipped with cutting-edge technology for the time and rigorous safety protocols, entered the cave to conduct a complete mapping of the tunnel system. They were 7 experienced researchers, led by Dr. Robert Hendricks, a geologist with over 20 years of experience in underground exploration. The journey, which was supposed to last 48 hours, turned into a rescue operation that mobilized federal resources for 2 consecutive weeks. When the explorers were finally located, only 3 were alive, in a state of deep shock and with injuries that defied the medical understanding of the time. The 4 remaining researchers, including Dr. Hendricks, simply disappeared without leaving any physical trace. The official report of this incident remains classified to this day, but I managed to gain access to unofficial testimonies from some of the survivors through family members, who agreed to share information anonymously. What they described about the interior of the cave forced a complete reassessment of safety protocols not only in Yosemite, but throughout the entire American National Park system. The most disturbing revelations came from the medical examinations performed on the 3 survivors. In addition to unexplained physical injuries, all presented temporary neurological changes that included partial memory loss, temporal disorientation, and a condition that doctors described as a prolonged dissociative state. It was as if something inside the cave had directly impacted the brain function of these people. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this official information represents only the surface of a much more complex truth. The real history of this cave began long before modern records, in the oral traditions of the native peoples who inhabited the region for millennia before the arrival of the first European explorers. The Awanichi, a native people who lived in Yosemite Valley, had a specific name for this cave, Pohono Tahoe, which can be roughly translated as place where spirits get lost. Their legends told of brave warriors who entered the cave in search of spiritual visions and never returned to their tribes. But the most interesting thing is that these stories did not treat the cave as a cursed place, but rather as a portal to another dimension of reality. Comment below. This is getting intense. If you also feel that this story is going way beyond what we initially imagined. The Awanichi perspective on this cave reveals a layer of ancestral knowledge that modern authorities have completely ignored for decades. These oral traditions were not merely folklore. They were sophisticated systems of knowledge based on centuries of direct observation of the phenomena occurring at that location. What impresses me most is how these ancient narratives anticipated with frightening accuracy the patterns of events that we would only begin to officially document in the 20th century. The tribe's shamans developed specific rituals to deal with what they called the devouring energy of the cave. According to ethnographic records collected by anthropologist James Mason in 1923, the natives believed the cave was a kind of extreme spiritual test, where only those with adequate mental and spiritual preparation could survive the encounter with forces that transcended normal human understanding. This mentality of ritual preparation contrasts sharply with the purely technical approach that modern explorers have adopted, and perhaps this explains much about the differences in results. The transformation of this region from a sacred site to a forbidden area effectively began with the arrival of the first European explorers in the 1850s. The first officially documented disappearance occurred in 1863 when territorial geologist Samuel Crawford decided to investigate the cave as part of a mineral survey for the federal government. Crawford was known for his rigorous methodology and detailed reports, but when it came to this specific cave, his records became progressively erratic and fragmented. The last entries in Crawford's diary, found 3 months later in his abandoned camp, describe experiences that challenged his scientific training. He mentions changes in temporal perception and echoes that respond even before they are produced. Even more disturbing, Crawford documents the feeling of being watched by invisible presences and the discovery of structures inside the cave that seemed built by non-human intelligences. The impact of this first case was downplayed by the authorities at the time, who classified Crawford as a victim of prolonged isolation and mental stress. But this decision to ignore the evidence established a pattern of official denial that would persist for more than a century. The hidden truth is that each new disappearance brought similar revelations, but the authorities systematically chose to dismiss any evidence that did not fit conventional explanations. Over the following decades, the cave attracted a succession of explorers, each convinced they could solve the mystery where others had failed. The pattern was always the same. Experienced and well-equipped people entered confidently, but either disappeared completely or emerged in a state of profound trauma, carrying accounts that defied established scientific logic. The case that truly forced a change in official approach was that of the Chicago Mountaineering Group in 1924. They were 5 experienced friends, veterans of the First World War with proven experience in extreme situations. Their leader, Captain William Morrison, had served in the European trenches and was known for his exceptional psychological resilience. If anyone was mentally prepared to face disturbing situations, it was Morrison and his team. When they were found 6 days later, only 2 were alive, and both in a catatonic state. What most impressed the doctors who treated them was that their injuries did not correspond to any known type of accident in underground explorations. They were precise and symmetrical marks, as if they had been made by instruments, but the survivors could not explain how or when they were injured. Behind the scenes, this situation led to the first serious federal investigation into the cave. Agents from the Bureau of Investigation, the precursor to the FBI, were discreetly sent to Yosemite with orders to determine if criminal Activity was involved in the disappearances. What they discovered completely changed the official narrative about the site. The federal report, classified for over 80 years, was finally partially released in 2005 through Freedom of Information processes. The uncensored portions reveal that investigators found evidence of anomalous atmospheric phenomena inside the cave, including unexplained temperature fluctuations and irregular magnetic fields that interfered with navigation equipment. More significantly, the report documents the discovery of artificial structures within the tunnel system, constructions that were clearly not of natural origin, but which also did not correspond to any known architectural style of the region's native cultures. This discovery raised fundamental questions about who or what had modified the interior of the cave and when these modifications were made. The ranger's decision to begin restricting access was not an immediate official policy, but rather a series of gradual measures implemented between 1925 and 1940. Initially, these were merely safety recommendations, suggesting that visitors avoid the area. Progressively, these recommendations became stricter regulations, until finally the cave was completely removed from all official park maps. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because these gradual restrictions masked something far more complex than simple public safety measures. What was really happening behind the scenes was a fundamental transformation in the official understanding of the real risks this cave posed. The shift in official understanding of the risks posed by this cave began when specialized geologists finally managed to conduct detailed structural analyses of the site in 1938. What they discovered completely changed the authorities' mindset about what truly made this place so dangerous. We're not just talking about conventional risks of underground exploration. The cave's geological structure itself presents features that defy basic principles of natural rock formation. The first disturbing revelation was that the cave does not follow normal patterns of erosion and limestone formation. The granite of the Sierra Nevada simply should not have developed such an extensive tunnel system through conventional natural processes. Petrographic analysis showed that the inner walls were exposed to extremely high temperatures at some point in the past, creating a crystalline structure that is simultaneously harder than normal granite, but also strangely brittle in specific locations. This structural instability does not follow predictable patterns. Engineers who attempted to map the stress points discovered that the cave seems to react dynamically to human presence. Seismic sensors discreetly installed in the 1970s recorded micro-vibrations that intensified whenever groups of people entered the tunnel system. It was as if the rock itself responded to human occupation, creating conditions of instability that progressively increased with the length of stay. But the most dangerous aspect of the physical structure isn't the obvious risk of collapse. The real danger lies in the tunnel's internal configuration, which creates a three-dimensional labyrinth impossible to map precisely. Modern underground mapping techniques, including ground-penetrating radar and laser scanning, produce inconsistent results when applied to this specific cave. It's as if the internal geometry subtly changes between different measurements. Experienced explorers who have managed to escape describe a constant feeling of spatial disorientation that goes far beyond the normal confusion in underground environments. The tunnel system seems designed to confuse human perception of direction and distance. Corridors that should lead back to the main entrance often end in chambers that do not appear on previous maps, while routes that seemed blocked mysteriously open up. The issue of indoor air quality presents complexities that have completely transformed our understanding of subsurface gases. Atmospheric analyses have revealed the presence of chemical compounds that should not exist in natural rock formations. We are talking about gases with neurologically active properties that accumulate in varying concentrations depending on depth and time of year. What is most disturbing is that these gases do not follow normal dispersion patterns. In conventional caves, toxic gases tend to concentrate in low, stagnant areas, creating predictable danger zones. In this cave, the concentrations of dangerous gases fluctuate seemingly randomly, creating atmospheric traps that can quickly appear anywhere in the tunnel system. Chemical analyses have identified at least 7 different compounds with psychoactive properties, including substances that affect temporal perception and spatial judgment. Some of these substances produce effects similar to known hallucinogens, but with unique pharmacological characteristics that suggest a non-biological origin. The hidden truth is that breathing these gases can fundamentally alter a person's ability to make rational decisions about navigation and safety. The impact of these chemical compounds on the nervous system explains many of the seemingly irrational accounts from survivors. What they describe as invisible presences or alterations in reality may be a direct result of progressive neurological intoxication. But this also raises disturbing questions about the origin of these gases and why they are specifically concentrated in this cave. The complete absence of electronic connectivity inside the cave goes far beyond simple normal geological interference. Tests conducted with military communication equipment designed to function in electronic warfare environments failed completely when used inside the tunnels. We're not just talking about a weak signal. The devices simply stop working, as if something were actively blocking all electromagnetic frequencies. GPS, satellite phones, emergency radios, magnetic compasses, all. This essential equipment for safe navigation becomes completely useless just a few meters from the main entrance. This interference creates total isolation that transforms any minor problem into a potentially fatal emergency. Without external communication, groups of explorers become completely dependent on their own skills and physical equipment. Technical analysis of this interference revealed electromagnetic anomalies that do not correspond to any known geological phenomenon. Measurements indicate the presence of irregular magnetic fields that fluctuate in intensity and direction in a seemingly chaotic manner. These fields not only interfere with electronic equipment, but can also directly affect the human nervous system, causing nausea, dizziness, and disorientation. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because these physical and chemical dangers, however extreme they may be, represent only one layer of the real risks this cave presents. What truly transformed the official approach was the discovery that the most lethal dangers are not necessarily the most obvious. Comment below. This explains a lot if you're starting to understand why so many experienced explorers simply disappeared without leaving a logical trace. The discovery that the most lethal dangers are not necessarily the most obvious became crystal clear in the case that definitively changed the authorities' approach to this cave. In April 2015, 4 friends from Seattle decided to embark on a journey they had planned for months as an extreme urban exploration adventure. They weren't reckless amateurs. We're talking about people with solid experience in mountaineering, caving, and wilderness survival. The group was led by Alex Martinez, a 32-year-old engineer specializing in underground structures, who had worked on the construction of the Seattle subway tunnel system. With him were Sarah Chen, a geologist with a master's degree in West Coast rock formations, David Thompson, a former military man with special operations experience, and Jennifer Walsh, a professional photographer who documented explorations in extreme locations around the world. Their mindset was one of total preparation. They had studied every available detail about the cave, including official reports and unofficial accounts they obtained through contacts in explorer communities. The transformation of this planned expedition into a tragedy began with decisions that seemed completely rational on the surface. The group had established rigorous safety protocols, including regular checkpoints, redundant communication systems, and a detailed emergency evacuation plan. They entered the cave on a Friday morning with enough equipment for a 36-hour exploration and a precise schedule that included specific milestones for progress reports. The first sign that something was wrong came when Alex failed to check in at his scheduled time of 6 p.m. on Friday. Protocol dictated that any delay exceeding 2 hours would automatically trigger emergency procedures. At 8:30 p.m., when there had still been no contact, Alex's girlfriend, Patricia Morales, contacted the Yosemite Rangers to report the group as officially overdue. The initial response from authorities immediately revealed the impact that decades of traumatic experiences had had on the official approach to emergencies in that particular cave. Instead of standard search and rescue procedures, which would normally begin the following morning, a specialized team was mobilized during the very night of Friday. This included not only experienced rangers, but also federal experts in underground emergencies and advanced detection equipment that is normally reserved for national security situations. The search operation that followed was the most extensive ever conducted in Yosemite up to that date. For the first 3 days, more than 40 professionals worked in continuous shifts, using tracking technologies that included robotic cameras, body heat sensors, and seismic motion detection equipment. What they discovered, or more precisely, what they failed to discover, completely transformed our understanding of what happens when people disappear in that cave. The first disturbing revelation came when rescue teams were able to trace the group's initial progress through footprints and equipment marks. Alex and his friends had followed the planned route exactly during the first 6 hours of exploration, documenting their progress with military precision. The last physical evidence of their presence was found in a chamber approximately 800 meters from the main entrance, where they had apparently stopped for a planned meal and equipment check. But from that point on, there was absolutely nothing. No footprints, no sign of equipment, no indication of which direction they had taken. It was as if 4 adults, carrying heavy backpacks and bulky equipment, had simply materialized somewhere else. Forensic analysis of that chamber revealed that they had remained there for at least an hour, based on evidence of eating and resting, but there was no sign of struggle, panic, or medical emergency. The hidden truth about this situation only emerged when specialized. Investigators analyzed the behind-the-scenes details of the last communication the group had managed to transmit before losing connectivity completely. Jennifer Walsh had managed to send a series of photos via an emergency satellite transmitter during the first part of the exploration. These images, initially dismissed as routine documentation, revealed details that changed the entire investigation. In the last photos sent by Jennifer, it was possible to see something that none of the explorers had mentioned in their verbal communications: artificial structures inside the cave that did not correspond to any official mapping. The images showed what appeared to be constructed passages with angles and proportions that clearly were not the result of natural geological formation. Even more disturbing, these structures did not appear in any of the previous official explorations of the same area. The family's testimonies revealed aspects of the group's personality and preparedness that made their disappearance even more inexplicable. Patricia Morales described Alex as obsessively cautious in his explorations, someone who preferred to abort a mission rather than take unnecessary risks. Sarah Chen's mother shared that her daughter had developed personal safety protocols based on years of experience in caves around the world, including warning signals that would cause her to evacuate immediately in case of anomalous conditions. According to his family's testimony, David Thompson had experienced real combat in Afghanistan and was known for his ability to remain calm and lead in extreme situations. Jennifer Walsh had experience documenting explorations in some of the most dangerous environments on the planet, including active volcanoes and unstable glaciers. The likelihood of this specific group of people making basic safety mistakes was virtually zero. The emotional impact on the families was intensified by the incomplete nature of the official investigations. Months after the disappearance, when the active searches were officially called off, the families began receiving contradictory information from the authorities. Some reports suggested that the group had been victims of a sudden collapse, but there was no geological evidence of recent instability in the area where they disappeared. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because the 2015 case set precedents that would directly influence how authorities handled Marcus's expedition in 2019. The traumatic experience of the families and the frustration with the inconclusive investigations created public pressure that forced significant changes in emergency response protocols. The public pressure that built up after the 2015 case created a fundamental transformation in monitoring protocols, and it was precisely this change that made Marcus's rescue possible 4 years later. In June 2019, when he and his 4 companions decided to defy the restrictions, the authorities already had much more sophisticated detection systems discreetly installed around the cave. This technological evolution is what allowed Marcus to be located alive, but it also revealed aspects of his experience that completely changed our understanding of what really happens inside that place. Marcus Rodriguez, a 28-year-old software engineer from San Francisco, wasn't a professional explorer like the previous groups. He and his friends were urban adventure enthusiasts who had met through online forums dedicated to exploring abandoned and restricted locations. The group's mindset was more about digital curiosity than actual technical expertise. They were used to hacking security systems and documenting findings for online communities, not necessarily surviving in extreme environments. The journey, which was supposed to last only one day, turned into a 48-hour experience that Marcus described in official statements as a progressive descent into a reality that no longer made sense. According to his account, the first signs that something was fundamentally wrong began approximately 3 hours after entering the cave, when the group realized that their navigation equipment was providing contradictory readings about their location. What Marcus saw inside the cave defies simple categorization. He described discovering chambers that appeared artificially expanded, with walls displaying regular geometric patterns impossible to explain through natural geological processes. Even more disturbing, Marcus reported finding objects that clearly did not belong in that environment. Exploration equipment from different eras, some seemingly very old, others, surprisingly, modern, all abandoned in conditions that suggested sudden and inexplicable abandonment. The experience that transformed Marcus from a curious explorer into a traumatized survivor occurred during his second night inside the cave. According to his testimony, he awoke alone in a chamber he didn't recognize, with no memory of how he had gotten there or where his companions were. His attempts to find the group revealed that the tunnel system had apparently changed. Passages he clearly remembered, traversing the previous day, now led to completely different places. Marcus's account of his attempts at navigation reveals disturbing psychological aspects of the effect the cave has on human perception. He described episodes of temporal disorientation where he was certain he had been walking for only a few minutes, but checks on his watch indicated that hours had passed. Conversely, periods that seemed to last eternities were registered as only a few minutes of real time. The hidden truth about how Marcus managed to escape emerged through detailed medical analyses conducted after his rescue. Toxicological tests revealed extremely high levels of neurologically active compounds in his system, substances that correspond exactly to the anomalous gases identified in atmospheric analyses of the cave. But the most intriguing aspect was that these substances seemed to have created an altered state of consciousness, which, paradoxically, may have been what allowed his survival. Marcus recounted experiences during his final hours in the cave that he himself admits are impossible to objectively verify. He described following familiar voices that guided him through the labyrinth of tunnels, voices that seemed to belong to people he knew, but who were knowingly not present. These hallucinatory auditory experiences, likely caused by gas intoxication, inadvertently directed him to routes that eventually led him back to the surface. The psychological impact of the experience on Marcus's mind was extensively documented by psychiatrists specializing in extreme trauma. He developed a condition that doctors classified as situational dissociative syndrome, an inability to integrate his memories of the cave with his normal perception of reality. Months after the rescue, Marcus still reported episodes where he questioned whether he had truly escaped or if he was still lost inside the tunnels. Behind the scenes of the rescue process, it was revealed how the authorities had learned from previous failures. New seismic sensors detected Marcus's movements even before he could reach areas where communication equipment would work. Specialized response teams were strategically positioned based on behavioral analyses of how people lost in underground environments tend to move when under the influence of cave gases. The most disturbing discovery came when Marcus was questioned about physical evidence of his missing companions. He reported finding personal equipment he recognized as belonging to the group, but in locations that didn't match his memories of where they had been when they separated. Even more unsettling, some of these objects showed signs of prolonged exposure to environmental elements, as if they had been in the cave for much longer than the few days since the start of the expedition. The revelations about Marcus's mental state after the rescue forced a complete reassessment of treatment protocols for survivors of cave experiences. Psychologists discovered that conventional trauma therapy methods were inadequate to deal with experiences that challenged basic perception of reality. Marcus required an experimental treatment protocol that included pharmacological therapy to neutralize the residual effects of neurotoxic compounds in his system. The most challenging aspect of Marcus's recovery was his persistent insistence on specific details about the cave's interior that did not correspond to any known official mapping. He described extensive chambers with impossible architectural features, seemingly artificial ventilation systems, and structures that suggested prolonged human occupation at some point in the past. These descriptions were initially dismissed as products of gas-induced hallucinations, but subsequent investigations found physical evidence that validated at least some aspects of his accounts. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because Marcus's case not only confirmed the extreme dangers of the cave, but also revealed aspects of its nature that have forced authorities to fundamentally reconsider their theories about what really happens inside. Write this down. Marcus went through something unimaginable. If you're realizing the magnitude of the psychological trauma that experiences like this can cause. Marcus's case not only confirmed the extreme dangers of the cave, but also forced the National Park Service to take a public stance for the first time in decades about what really happens there. The transformation in the official approach was dramatic, from decades of near-total silence to a partial acknowledgement that this cave presents risks that transcend anything found in other American national parks. The authorities' decision to make certain aspects of the investigation public represented a fundamental shift in institutional mindset. For over 80 years, official policy had been one of complete minimization, treating disappearances as isolated accidents and avoiding any discussion of patterns or anomalous characteristics. But the public pressure generated by the Marcus case, combined with the impossibility of ignoring the documented physical evidence, forced a complete reassessment of this strategy. The official statement published in September 2019 was carefully crafted to acknowledge the dangers without revealing information that could attract even more unauthorized explorers. The official document classifies the cave as presenting extreme and unique environmental hazards that include severe structural instability, concentrated toxic gases, and atmospheric conditions that can adversely affect human judgment and perception. This was the first time authorities publicly admitted that the cave possesses characteristics that directly affect human cognition. The hidden truth behind this official acknowledgement emerged through conversations with park officials who were involved in the investigations. According to internal sources who agreed to share information anonymously, the decision to be more transparent was motivated not only by public pressure, but also by the discovery that official silence was inadvertently fueling conspiracy theories that made the cave even more attractive to adventurous explorers. The safety measures implemented after the Marcus incident represent the most significant investment in prevention ever made for a specific location within the national park system. We are talking about a safety budget that exceeds what is normally allocated to active volcanoes or areas of intense seismic activity. This level of investment reveals how seriously the authorities take the risks associated with this particular cave. The installed monitoring system includes high-precision seismic sensors that can detect human movement up to 200 meters inside the cave, thermal cameras with night vision capability positioned at all known access points, and an automated alert system that notifies specialized response teams in real time whenever human activity is detected. This equipment represents military technology adapted for civilian use, indicating that the authorities treat this situation as a matter of national security. I gained access to an exclusive testimony from veteran ranger Thomas Mitchell, who worked in Yosemite for over 30 years before retiring in 2020. Mitchell was one of the few people authorized to oversee rescue operations in the cave, and his perspective offers unique insights into how the official approach has evolved over the decades. According to Mitchell, the most significant transformation was the recognition that conventional search and rescue methods are completely inadequate for emergencies in this specific cave. Mitchell described how rescue operations in the cave require special protocols not used anywhere else in the park system. Teams entering the cave for rescues must use self-contained breathing apparatus similar to that used by divers, not only for protection against toxic gases, but also to avoid the psychological effects of neurotoxic compounds present in the air. Furthermore, all operations are limited to maximum periods of 2 hours to prevent the rescuers themselves from being affected by the anomalous conditions. The most revealing aspect of Mitchell's testimony was his description of the changes in ranger training over the years. In the 1980s and 1990s, rangers received basic instructions to simply avoid the area and discourage visitors from approaching. But from the 2000s onward, training began to include specific protocols for dealing with cave-related psychiatric emergencies, recognizing that survivors often require specialized care for extreme psychological trauma. Mitchell also revealed details about the impact that decades of traumatic experiences have had on the morale and mindset of park employees. According to him, experienced rangers developed a kind of intuition about when someone was planning to attempt to access the cave, based on subtle behavioral patterns that visitors exhibit when investigating restricted areas. This informal skill has become a valuable tool for prevention, allowing interventions before unauthorized exploration attempts are made. The most disturbing revelations in Mitchell's testimony relate to his own experiences during rescue operations. He admitted that, even with full protective equipment and rigorous safety protocols, working inside the cave profoundly affected the rescuer's psychology. Mitchell described episodes of temporal disorientation, auditory hallucinations, and a persistent feeling of being watched by unseen presences during rescue operations. According to Mitchell, these experiences were so consistent among different members of the rescue teams that they became an unofficial part of the training. Veterans informally prepared new rangers for the psychological effects they would experience, even with protective equipment. This informal preparation included mental anchoring techniques to maintain clarity about reality versus hallucination during operations inside the cave. The institutional impact of these experiences was profound. Mitchell revealed that the National Park Service developed special psychological follow-up protocols for rangers who participated in cave rescue operations, recognizing that even limited and protected exposure can cause lasting effects on mental health. These protocols include regular psychiatric evaluations and mandatory rotation to other areas of the park after a specific number of cave operations. Mitchell's perspective on the evolution of official policy revealed how administrative decisions were influenced not only by public safety considerations, but also by the need to protect the mental health of the park's own employees. The admission that the cave negatively affects even trained and equipped professionals represented a fundamental shift in the official understanding of the nature of the risks involved. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because the official perspective of the authorities represents only one layer of the complexity surrounding this cave. Behind the public policies and safety protocols, there is an intense scientific debate about the theories that attempt to explain the documented phenomena. The intense scientific debate behind public policy reveals a fundamental division within the academic community regarding how to explain the documented phenomena in this cave. The most interesting transformation in recent years has been how theories that initially seemed entirely speculative have begun to gain scientific credibility as more physical evidence has been collected and analyzed by respected institutions. The most widely accepted scientific theory currently available was developed by Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a geochemist at Stanford University, who proposes that the cave is located on a unique geological formation that creates extremely unusual atmospheric conditions. According to her research, the interaction between specific minerals in the Sierra Nevada granite and groundwater, with a high concentration of rare elements, produces gases that have documentable neurological properties. This rigorous scientific approach offers plausible explanations for many of the effects reported by survivors. Rodriguez's theory gained credibility when independent analyses confirmed the presence of complex organic chemical compounds in the cave's gases. substances that shouldn't exist in natural rock formations. These findings forced a re-evaluation of established geological theories and suggested that as yet ununderstood chemical processes may be occurring underground in the region. The impact of this research was so significant that it attracted federal funding for further investigations. In contrast to conventional scientific explanations, there is a school of thought suggesting the influence of ancient human activity on the development of the cave's anomalous features. Archaeologist Dr. Michael Harrison of the University of California proposes that artificial structures found inside may be evidence of much older human occupation than previously thought. His theory suggests that pre-Columbian civilizations may have deliberately modified the cave system for ritual or ceremonial purposes. The hidden truth about this archaeological theory emerged when carbon-14 analyses of artifacts found in the cave produced inconsistent and seemingly impossible dates. Some objects showed ages that varied drastically depending on the dating method used, suggesting that something about the cave's environment interferes with standard scientific techniques. These anomalies forced archaeologists to develop alternative dating methods specifically for materials exposed to the unique conditions of this cave. On the other hand, conspiracy theories circulating in online communities propose explanations ranging from secret military experiments to extraterrestrial activity. While these theories are largely rejected by the mainstream scientific community, some contain elements that have been inadvertently validated by later discoveries. The theory that the cave was used for government experiments, for example, gained some credibility when declassified documents revealed that federal agencies conducted atmospheric tests in the region during the Cold War. The revelations about these historic military tests have transformed the debate about the origins of the cave's anomalous gases. Some researchers now speculate that chemical weapons experiments during the 1950s and 1960s may have permanently altered the atmospheric composition of the subterranean system. This possibility adds a layer of complexity to scientific investigations, as it means that some of the cave's dangerous features may be the result of modern human activity, not just natural geological processes. Comparison with other dangerous caves in the United States offers important insights into what makes this particular location so exceptional. The Cave of the Wind in Colorado, for example, presents significant atmospheric hazards due to volcanic gases, but the dangers are predictable and can be mitigated with appropriate equipment. Limestone caves in Kentucky have complex tunnel systems that can disorient explorers, but do not exhibit the neurological effects documented in Yosemite. Dr. James Patterson, a speleology expert with the National Speleological Society, conducted detailed comparative analyses that revealed Yosemite Cave is literally unique in the American cave system. According to Patterson, no other underground formation in the country presents the specific combination of structural instability, atmospheric anomalies, and psychological effects documented in this location. This uniqueness makes it impossible to apply safety protocols developed for other dangerous caves. Patterson's perspective on the psychological aspects is particularly revealing. He notes that caves known to cause disorientation or panic generally affect people in a predictable way based on claustrophobia or fear of confined spaces. But Yosemite Cave affects even experienced speleologists who are completely comfortable in underground environments, suggesting that the psychological effects are chemical or physical in origin, not psychological. Behind the scenes of speleological research, significant resistance within the scientific community to studying this specific cave has been revealed. Patterson admitted that many researchers refuse opportunities to study the site, not due to superstitious fears, but because previous experiences have shown that even rigorously controlled scientific investigations can result in lasting effects on the mental health of the researchers. The scientific investigation has been complicated by the discovery that standard speleological research methods produce inconsistent results when applied to this cave. Laser mapping equipment frequently malfunctions in specific areas. Analyses of rock samples produce different chemical compositions depending on when and where they are collected, and atmospheric measurements vary drastically between different expeditions to the same area. These inconsistencies led to the development of entirely new research protocols specifically for this cave. Dr. Patterson described how his team had to abandon conventional methods and develop techniques that take into account the possibility that the cave environment changes dynamically in response to human presence. This adaptive approach represented a fundamental transformation in traditional speleological methodology. The most controversial theory, but one increasingly considered by serious researchers, suggests that the cave may be located above a geological formation that affects local magnetic fields in a way that directly interferes with the functioning of the human nervous system. This theory would explain both the psychological effects and the malfunctions of electronic equipment, offering a unified scientific explanation for seemingly unrelated phenomena. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject because understanding these scientific theories and speculations prepares us to address the most important question: what can we learn from these extreme cases to improve safety in explorations of other national parks? Comment below. Science still doesn't explain everything. If you're noticing how even experienced researchers face limitations when trying to understand this phenomenon, the limitations that even experienced researchers face when trying to understand this phenomenon lead us to a much broader reflection on our relationship with nature and the risks we take when we decide to explore unknown territories. The most important transformation that cases like Yosemite Cave can generate is a fundamental shift in mindset about how we approach the exploration of wilderness areas, especially those that have been explicitly restricted by authorities. The hidden truth about restrictions in national parks is that they are rarely implemented for bureaucratic or arbitrary reasons. Each restricted area represents decades of accumulated experience, often paid for with human lives and severe psychological trauma for survivors and their families. When we see no entry signs in places like Yosemite, we are looking at the crystallization of knowledge gained through real tragedies that could have been avoided if previous explorers had heeded similar warnings. The cumulative impact of disappearances in American national parks reveals troubling patterns that go far beyond isolated cases or random accidents. According to updated data from the National Park Service compiled through 2024, more than 1,600 people have disappeared in American national parks in the last 2 decades, with approximately 400 cases remaining unsolved. These numbers represent not just statistics, but shattered families and communities traumatized by unexplained losses. The journey of raising awareness about these risks must begin with the recognition that our modern perception of nature has been distorted by decades of organized tourism and well-marked trails. We have developed a mindset that national parks are essentially domesticated nature, wild enough to be interesting but safe enough to be accessible to millions of visitors annually. This perception creates a false sense of security that can lead to dangerous decisions when we encounter genuinely wild and unexplored areas. Proper preparation for wilderness exploration goes far beyond technical equipment and navigation skills. The behind-the-scenes accounts of disappearance cases reveal that most victims had adequate technical preparation. They knew their equipment, had experience in similar environments, and had meticulously planned their expeditions. What was lacking was a deep understanding of the psychological and neurological risks that certain environments can present. The revelations about cases like Yosemite Cave demonstrate that mental preparation is just as important as physical preparation. Experienced explorers now recognize the need to develop protocols to deal with disorientation, hallucinations, and loss of critical judgment, situations that conventional equipment cannot resolve. This includes mental anchoring techniques, reality checking systems, and mission abandonment protocols based on psychological, not just physical, warning signs. The most significant transformation in the modern approach to exploration has been the recognition that not all territory needs to be conquered or exploited. There is value in accepting that certain areas of nature may be fundamentally incompatible with safe human presence. This shift in mindset represents a mature evolution of the exploration culture, moving from a focus on conquest to a focus on respect and self-preservation. The national context of disappearances in parks reveals that Yosemite Cave, while extreme, is part of a broader pattern of problem areas scattered throughout the American park system. Glacier National Park has documented over 200 disappearances since 1990, many in areas that do not present obvious hazards such as avalanches or falls. The Great Smoky Mountains registers an average of 25 missing persons annually, with a resolution rate of only 60%. These numbers force a reassessment of public safety strategies in national parks. The traditional approach of focusing on obvious risks such as wildlife, weather, conditions, and trail accidents leaves significant gaps in visitor protection. Cases like Yosemite Cave demonstrate that there are environmental risks that our current scientific understanding cannot adequately categorize or mitigate. Raising awareness of these hidden risks is transforming safety education for park visitors. New educational protocols include information on how to recognize signs of neurological disorientation, the importance of respecting restrictions even when they seem excessive, and strategies for maintaining mental clarity in situations of extreme stress. This education goes beyond simply listing rules and regulations. It seeks to develop a mindset of respect, informed by natural hazards. The learning journey that extreme cases like this provide also reveals the importance of redundant communication systems and regular check-ins with support teams. Many disappearances could have been avoided if the explorers had maintained strict communication protocols and had emergency equipment that functioned independently of specific local conditions. The most profound educational impact comes from understanding that responsible exploration requires humility in the face of the unknown. The mindset that technology and experience can overcome any natural challenge has been repeatedly challenged by cases where highly skilled and well-equipped people have simply disappeared without explanation. This reality forces a transformation in how we think about our place in nature and our limitations as a species. The most valuable lessons emerge when we recognize that some natural mysteries may never be fully understood or mastered by human science. This acceptance does not represent scientific defeat, but rather a maturity that values human life above curiosity or the desire for conquest. The decision to avoid certain areas can be seen not as cowardice, but as wisdom based on evidence accumulated through real traumatic experiences. Now, I want to delve even deeper into this subject because these lessons about respect and preparedness lead us to the final and most important question. How should we, as a society, balance our natural human curiosity with the responsibility to protect lives and preserve mental health? The question of how to balance our natural human curiosity with the responsibility to protect lives leads us to the heart of a dilemma that continues to challenge both individual explorers and society as a whole. The most profound transformation that cases like Yosemite Cave can provoke is a fundamental reevaluation of our values regarding adventure, discovery, and the limits we are willing to accept in our pursuit of extreme experiences. The hidden truth is that even with all the documented evidence, all the recorded tragedies, and all the official warnings, adventurers continue to be drawn to this forbidden cave with a regularity that defies all rational logic. Behind-the-scenes security operations in Yosemite reveal that at least one unauthorized access attempt is intercepted monthly, and these are only the attempts that are detected. The mindset driving these decisions represents something far more complex than simple recklessness or a search for adrenaline. There is a particular psychology associated with forbidden places that transcends rational considerations of safety. The very restrictive nature of the cave seems to increase its appeal to certain personality types, people who interpret warnings of danger as challenges to be overcome, who see restrictions as artificial obstacles imposed by overly cautious authorities. This mentality creates a vicious cycle where the safety measures implemented to protect lives inadvertently increase the attraction of the place for those most likely to ignore precautions. The psychological impact of this dynamic extends beyond the individuals who make these dangerous choices. Families of missing persons often face an additional layer of trauma when they realize that their loved ones consciously chose to ignore explicit warnings about the risks. This realization can significantly complicate the grieving process, adding feelings of anger and frustration to the natural pain of loss. The journey of investigating. Cases like this also reveals how our modern culture of information sharing can inadvertently contribute to the problem. Documentaries, online articles, and videos about the Forbidden Cave, even when produced with educational intentions, can function as unintentional propaganda for potential explorers. The line between responsible public education and the unintentional promotion of dangerous behaviors is surprisingly thin. Revelations about how information circulates in explorer communities show that each widely publicized case can generate multiple imitation attempts. The phenomenon known as the Werther effect, where publicity about traumatic events encourages similar behavior, applies directly to explorations of dangerous locations. Researchers in behavioral psychology have documented significant increases in unauthorized access attempts following media coverage of disappearance cases in restricted areas. The transformation in the approach to public communication about these risks has been one of the most important lessons learned by national park managers. Modern strategies seek to inform about dangers without romanticizing or sensationalizing dangerous locations. This includes focusing on real consequences for families and communities, rather than narratives that may inadvertently glorify risky behavior. But perhaps the deeper question is, to what extent should a free society go to protect individuals from their own decisions? Yosemite Cave represents an extreme case where the cost of allowing free access, in terms of lives lost, rescue resources, and psychological trauma, clearly justifies absolute restrictions. But this situation forces a broader reflection on individual autonomy versus collective responsibility in matters of public safety. The mentality that competent adults should have the freedom to take personal risks, even extreme ones, clashes directly with the reality that individual actions have consequences that extend far beyond the person making the decision. Rescue operations cost thousands of dollars and expose rescuers to significant risks. Families are emotionally devastated. Entire communities can be traumatized by unexplained disappearances. Behind the scenes of political discussions about hazardous area management, fundamental tensions arise between differing philosophies on individual liberty and public protection. Some voices argue that stringent restrictions infantilize adult citizens and set dangerous precedents for governmental limitations on private activities. Other perspectives emphasize that societies have a moral obligation to protect vulnerable members from consequences they may not fully understand. The evolution of policies in Yosemite reflects an attempt to balance these conflicting perspectives through maximum transparency regarding documented risks, combined with strict enforcement of restrictions. The approach seeks to respect individual autonomy by providing complete information about hazards, while maintaining physical and legal barriers to prevent impulsive or ill-informed decisions. The impact of this approach can be measured not only in lives saved, but also in the gradual transformation of the culture of extreme exploration. Communities of adventurers are developing informal ethical codes that discourage attempts to access explicitly dangerous areas. This self-regulation represents a mature evolution of the exploration subculture, where respect for limits is seen as strength, not weakness. Perhaps the most uncomfortable truth is that, regardless of how much evidence is presented or how many tragic stories are documented, there will always be individuals willing to risk everything for what they perceive as the ultimate adventure. This reality forces a humble acceptance that not all risks can be eliminated through education or regulation, and that some tragedies may be inevitable in a society that values individual freedom. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because this reflection on the limits of social protection leads us to the final question we all need to consider. When does our natural curiosity become dangerous, not only to ourselves, but to everyone around us? Write this down, worth reflecting on, if you understand that this story goes far beyond a specific cave and forces us to think about choices and consequences in our own lives. When our natural curiosity becomes dangerous not only to ourselves but to everyone around us, we reach a point where we need to make choices that define not only who we are as individuals, but what kind of society we want to build together. The Forbidden Cave in Yosemite remains there, silent and mysterious, surrounded by its warning signs that tell a story of decades of avoidable tragedies. Marcus still grapples with the psychological consequences of his experience, and the families of those who disappeared in 2015 still wait for answers that may never come. The truth is that some mysteries are perhaps destined to remain unsolved, and our wisdom lies in accepting this without losing our humanity or our ability to protect one another. What impresses me most about this whole story is how it mirrors so many situations we face in everyday life. Moments where our curiosity, our desire to go beyond established limits, needs to be balanced with responsibility and respect for the consequences our choices may have. It's not about living in fear, but about living consciously. If you've made it this far with me on this journey, you understand that this isn't just a story about a dangerous cave. It's a reflection on how we navigate between freedom and responsibility, between curiosity and wisdom, between adventure and the preservation of life. Comment below. It made total sense to me. If you also felt this connection between the story and the bigger issues we all face. Click like if you value this type of content that goes beyond the superficial and truly makes you think about important topics. It's this engagement that allows me to continue investigating and bringing you stories that deserve to be told with the depth they require. And if you want to continue exploring these mysteries with me, subscribe to the channel, because every week I delve into cases that challenge our understanding of safety, nature, and human behavior. It's a community of people who, like you, value deep reflections on the mysteries that surround us. There's a video over here about other unexplained disappearances in national parks that perfectly complements this topic. Click on it and continue the conversation, because it's just beginning.